Hi everyone, I'm Jillyfish and I'm back with this week's Old School RuneScape Recap. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen the initial launch of some content from Pool 76, the final part of the equipment rebalance project, and some changes to Group Ironman. Most of the updates were covered in Soup's recap last week, so make sure to check it out if you missed it. Now, you might have caught the blog post about the PvP Arena revised rewards, and I'll give you a brief synopsis in case you missed it. The blog post covered some exciting rewards that are intended to only be usable within PvP, on PvP worlds, and in PvP minigames, and usable in both PvP and PvM inside the wilderness, but PvM inside the wilderness would be subject to passing a separate poll question. We have helmets that provide accuracy and defensive bonuses with respect to the combat triangle, including Miyamo's headgear that comes from the Corrupt Captain. These three untradeable glass cannon type helms help you land more melee specs at the expense of defensive stats and potential max hits. Strong against arrows, but bad to be caught in when barraged. Korif's headgear is a charming set of three untradeable helms that will boost your range, protect you against mage, but could leave you in a tough spot against melee attacks. They're also not exactly built for magicians. Saika's headgear is built for a puppeteer. These three untradeable helms are for casters, and they can make melee manageable, but you wouldn't want to be caught with these in ranged crossfire. Next, we have the Calamity armor that's weaker than typical tank gear and lower in major range accuracy than Dragonhide and Robe options at the equivalent tier, but it allows you to only focus on headgear switches similar to Void. Calamity comes in a standard set, a superior set, and an elite set. They're being targeted at 1, 40, and 70 defense. After tests, these rewards seem to be competitive without being best in slot. They'll serve as a similar alternative to Void gear against higher defense enemies, but they have lower max hits than we see from the percentage damage bonuses on Void. The sets will be obtainable in a broken state, and Jagex has worked with players to come up with repair costs and services for each reward. Gmods are constantly looking for ways to make sure these rewards stay balanced and fun to use. So continue to provide feedback. They're listening. Now let's shift gears and talk about the wristbands of the PvP arena. I'm sorry, the fighter's wrist wraps. The wrist wraps will have a fixed value of 100k and can be used on any pair of the Gielinor gloves. It's essentially higher damage at a defensive risk. Here's some stat examples of the fighter's wrist wraps combined with the Mithril gloves, the Rune gloves, and the Barrows gloves. Reminder that these are only usable within PvP. The PvP arena may also provide some tertiary rewards in the form of Imbue Scrolls, Blighted Wave and Blighted Surge stacks, which are untradeable rune storage stacks for wave or surge spells, ornament kits for Dragon Claws and Elder Chaos Robes, Heavy Ballista and Armadillo, the Dragon Warhammer, and Elder Maul with Bandos. This one's my personal favorite. And what about Humble Piety and Humble Chivalry? Both were unpopular, so they're as good as dead. In addition to PvP revised rewards, Jmods are also working on refreshing the mobile user interface. Not too long ago, they brought us these new mobile features. Now they're working on the mobile UI to help improve these features. Jmods are also looking at concepts that may take the mobile interface from this to something like this. Looks pretty nice. They're also looking at current feedback and will be sharing future milestones in the next coming weeks, so more details might be coming out in a future recap. Those of you who missed the iOS closed betas might want to look out for the new mobile client, which will launch on iOS and Android sometime next month. The launch may have new features like clue scroll helpers if you're someone who uses guides, and that'll come out later this summer. Tombs of Amascut is still set to launch in August. I gotta get my stats up for this one. It's official, the first 4 bosses of the raid have been announced. Now, you might have heard through the Apevine about Baba, the final challenge on the path of Abmekin, but now we also have Zebek, the final challenge on the path of Krondus, Kefri, the final challenge on the path of Scabarus, and Akka, the final challenge on the path of Het. He's the human one. We have a brief update on Giant's Foundry. Essentially, everything in the latest pull passed, so get ready to forge some giant swords. We also had 2 successful beta runs, and we're closing in on the Deadman mode rerun. Dates and details should be broadcasted sometime in early June. JMods are also hard at work to make quest speedrunning a reality. They're in the process of adding Cook's Assistant, Demon Slayer, Dragon Slayer 1, Ernest the Chicken, and Vampire Slayer. If you manage to defeat Cook's Assistant in record time, maybe the Duke will finally offer you a seat at his table. In addition to quest speedrunning, mods are also working on a content recommendation system that helps to recommend quests that are suitable for account progression, just to point some players in the right direction if they're in need of additional guidance. As you know, Game Jam was the best, and we all wanted to see those ideas come to life in the game, so JMods are giving us the opportunity to vote on just that. With a new survey, you can give feedback on the Game Jam ideas that you'd really like to see. It also seems like Posty Pete has spilled his bag of letters into this month's Gazette. If you have some free time, enjoy reading letters from the Barrows Brothers, the Varrock Apothecary, Martin the Master Gardener, Keikona, and more. I found the letter from the Gnome Child pretty interesting. These prophecies might mean something, maybe upcoming quests. The sun rises in the west could be referencing the sun god Vralos. The eclipse could be Raids 3. If you think these prophecies mean something else, please feel free to speculate in the comments below. And also, cat ears on a gnome hat? Not a bad idea. Lastly, we conclude with the usual. Our Player Showcase Gallery. If you want to be featured, make sure to submit your creations through the Player Showcase Gallery form. Old School RuneScape's fans are what keep the game alive, and we're the people who tie this recap and the community together at the end. And that wraps up this recap. Let us know what you think in the comments. You can find my editor and me below, and next week you can find Poison Potion back here with the weekly recap. Thank you so much, we hope you enjoyed!